And here we go again. I'm going to tell you about my cousin too. I have a cousin that has been my babysitter when I was little, and she really loved children and has never had any children of her own, and has had a rather hard life with pains and everything. And I love her dearly. And her mother, she believed in Christ, but she was a bit of a pain in the, yes, in the buttocks, or we can say, because she was very demanding with my cousin, with her daughter, and because she had such pain, she was very complaining a lot, and my cousin didn't feel that she was appreciated, and she felt that she couldn't measure up to her expectations. So she called me, and her mother was in the hospital, and she was really too ill, and she went back and forth to her mother every day, and she was so angry, and yet really, really angry. And she said, I'm so angry at her, and she has always loved my brother more than me, and everything. And then it was like God said to me, don't be angry at her. It's not good to be angry at her because she loves you. It doesn't help you if you're angry with her. It doesn't do you good because she loves you, but she feels safe with you. That's because she yells at you, and it's not right, but that it is. And I didn't know if she was comfortable with that, and I don't think so. But when I put the phone down and we stopped talking, I just knew. And I said to her, can I call, before I put the phone down, I said, can I call my aunt? And her name was Mai. And she said, no, you can call, but I don't think she will answer because she's so sick and she doesn't answer. Okay, I said. I felt that God wanted me to call. So I called and I prayed that she would answer. Please, God, make sure her answer. And she answered the phone, and I heard how she was really, really sick. And I started crying. And I got that emotional thing again when you have to do something that God wants. And I said, my, how are you? I know you are really, really sick, but you are going to heaven now. Yes, she said, I'm going to meet Jesus. Yes, I said, when you go to heaven, please take a look and look after me and your daughter when you're there. And I prayed for her, and she talked to me a bit, and I said, it won't take long. And then we hung up, and I knew exactly what I was going to do then. I called my cousin again because I knew when God told me when she was going to die. So I called my cousin and I said, you have to bring all your mother's loved ones, and I want you to know that you have 14 days and then she's going to die. So you have these 14 days to make everything all right. So make the most of it. 14 days went by, and on the 14th day, I knew the night before that she was gone. 10 in the morning the next day, the 15th day, my mother called and said, I know, I said. And she started, she just said, I want to tell you, and I just knew. I said, yes, I know, my is dead. Yes, she said. Yes, I know, because God told me so. I told you, 14 days. So, God works in people. And I can also tell you that my son, he has infantile autism, but he is very intelligent in many ways. He's very good in English. It's easier to speak English for him than Swedish because it's a flowing language. And he's very good with computers. And it's something very special with him because he has the same unwavering faith that I have, that God told to me when I was 11 that he was going to use me. And he said, you have an unwavering faith, you are like a rock, like Simon Peter. And his is the same. It's so strong. And when he was little, he went by taxi to school because of his that he was disabled. And every time the taxi drivers, they started asking me, what is it about your son? Every time we are going around the corner there, it's a church. And I knew the church. Yes, what is it? Every time we go by the church there, he's starting to make noises and pointing at the church because he couldn't speak very well, so they couldn't understand. But he wanted, he just pointed and all the time there. And I understand right away that he that he loved churches. And he always loved churches. And he's so long after his age, so I've told him about Jesus, but it was a bit later because he couldn't comprehend things like that. So it was very strange that he loved churches, because I have never been going to churches in that way. I was in a congregation when I was until I was 16 and Sunday school, but then I went out of the congregation because there were things there that I didn't like and it wasn't for me, it was strange things that I didn't felt was right. So, and in the summer, we thought about this, going to my grandmother's church to put some flowers. And our son was then, he was about 5 years old. And we couldn't get home. He just went around and around and around. He wanted to go and look at every graveyard. It was so hot outside. We were there for 2 hours and he didn't want to go home. And one time my mother was in the hospital and she was really ill. And we went by the what you call in the church. There was a little church in the hospital. They usually have that. And we just really fast looked inside and he thought it was beautiful. And then we went outside and talked to my mother, and he sat with his a little game he played with a console, I think it was Nintendo or something. And then he just said, "Mom, can I go in and sit in the church?" Yes, I said, "Of course." And my mom said, Why doesn't he want to be here with us?" "Mom, he loves churches. Let him be." So he sat there until we were going home. I had to go and get him. So that's a bit, I can't explain that, but he loved churches. And one time I stood in the kitchen and I was making chicken for dinner, and um, I was making chicken, so I was carving it and put it in pieces, and suddenly my son stood in the door and he looked very serious at me, and I can tell you that his language was very hard for him to speak, and the things he said I have never told him. And he said, "Mom, what are you doing?" "Well, I'm preparing food. I'm making dinner. I'm making chicken." And he said, "Mom, we shall not eat God's creatures." I was so stunned, and then he just went on playing. We shall not eat God's creatures. So, of course, in paradise it was never the meaning that we were going to eat meat. So, well, and one time my mother told me when she was out and she was in my grandpa's, he died when my mother was 11, and she took my son with her to put flowers on his grave. It's in the town where we live, in the middle. And my son, he was only, 3, 4, could say a few words. And they went around, and he had his little caps, I don't know what you call it, on the head. He took it off, and he had it on, and he went around and looked at the graveyards, and he suddenly stopped at one, and he took off his little hat. And my grandmother, she followed him, so she saw that he wouldn't get lost or something, because you really had to chase him and look after him all the time, because he didn't know things, and he could just go out right in the street. He didn't understand the danger or anything. And suddenly she stood by him, and she looked at him, and he pointed to the grave, and he said, "Girl," he said. And she looked at the grave, and it really was a girl that was buried there. I don't know why, but he said it, "Girl," and pointed. So there is very special things with him. And he has that extremely belief. One time we saw the Son of God, the movie, and we were sitting, and he loves everything about every movie and everything, and he has the Bible app on his cell phone, and he's incredible. And when we looked at the movie, and when it came to that, Johannes was going to baptize Jesus, my son suddenly said, he was saved before, but he wanted to do that, and suddenly he said, when we saw that, when Johannes was baptizing Jesus, He said right up, my husband sat beside me, he said, "Mom, I want to be baptized." Okay, I said, and I baptized my son myself. And he was so happy. And I really didn't had told him about the to be baptized or anything, because, well, he wasn't baptized when he was little, because I believe that all children belongs in heaven. So I didn't do that because I think it's something you should it's up to you if you want. It should come from the heart. It's your free will to do it. So it's the same with me. I was baptized when I was little because it was tradition, but then when I was 14 I was baptized on my own free will. And one time we was in Spain, in Alicante, and this was about the worst time, because he was very, very, before we knew he had autism. I thought he had HDH, and because he was everywhere, he took everything. He almost got the TV on him. He did everything he shouldn't do, and he was extremely. He didn't sleep at all. I slept 3 hours every night for 6 years, because he didn't sleep. He didn't sleep during the day either. It was just maybe 1.5 an hour, and then he woke up after a couple of 2 hours. He woke up, so I never got to really sleep. And when we were in Spain, we went and thought that we are going to do this, and it was terrible. He had a cold, and I was chasing after him, and my daughter, she was 6, and he was about 2, so she was 7. So she went, my husband and her, they went away and went to go buy a boat so they could be alone for a while, because my son or our son, it was hard. So I was going to go a bit away from we had, at the hotel, we had it the lowest, so it was just a little gate and the grass, like a porch, or you could say. And I was going to take his toys and things, and we were going to go to the playground. And I just looked away for maybe 1.5 minutes to look for his little, what you call it, a little hat for the, to keep the sun away from the eyes. And when I turned again, he was gone. I panicked. I totally panicked. I went out. My heart beat so fast. I started to crying. I looked to the left, to the right. There was 2 bushes, and when you got through them, there was a way, and the cars were passing by, but this was not a way that there were lots of cars, but it was a dangerous place, and I didn't see him anywhere there. So I looked very carefully, and then I went to the pool, and I looked everywhere, and I asked everyone. I was crying. I described him, talked to everybody in English. Thank God I knew English. I cried, and I looked everywhere, asked everybody. I prayed to God, please let me find him, and I did everything. And suddenly there comes a woman, and the strange thing is she has my son in her arms, and it looks like a cleaning lady, but the thing is that I always remember faces. I always remember faces. I have a difficulty for names, but faces is something I always remembered. And I don't remember her face. I was so grateful, so that I wanted to thank her, but I asked and she was nowhere to find. Nowhere. So I believe that that was an angel, really, that saved my son. Because I asked her also, where did you find him? He was out on the road. I said way before road, it's called road. He was on the road. I mean, he was on the road. He could easily have been hit by a car. So I believe it was an angel. And I'm going to explain why I have a very good memory for faces. We were in London when my daughter was 6 and my little son was in my stomach. I remember because I was in the week of 13 and I had that nausea before and it stopped. And at the hotel we were in, I think it was Victoria Hotel in London. And one day my daughter and husband, they went down and I was in the toilet and I was not really ready to go. I had to go to the toilet and do the last things. And suddenly it knocked on the door. And because the time was about 11 and we had slept late, so I thought it was my husband. So I opened the hotel door and there was a woman. And I saw her for about, 1-2 minutes, not more. And she looked nervous. And she said, "Oh, I didn't know that there was somebody here," because she knocked and she started to take the key and try to open. Because I was very silent in the toilet. So she looked nervous. And then I said, "No, it's okay, you can clean. I was just a bit late, so I'm going out." And then she went away. And I thought it was a bit strange because she was nervous, but I didn't think of it anymore. And when we came home, when we had been out, I had bought a perfume. It was June, I don't know what's the name, was it Christian Dior or something? June, a perfume, what's it called? I don't remember, but it's called June, and my husband had bought another perfume for himself. And the next day we were going out. I was going to take some perfume on me, and I opened the box because they were still in the box, I thought, but there was no perfume. Not in my box and not in my husband's box. "Oh," I told my husband, "we have been robbed. Someone has been here and taken our perfume that we bought." "Oh," he said, "we have to talk to the hotel manager." And my husband isn't good at speaking in English, so I had to do it. Sorry, I have to move a bit here because I have pain in my joints. But I went down, talked to the manager and told him that, someone has been in our room and taken our perfume that we bought. And then he said, "I'm going to check on this, he said. Okay, I said, you can do that. And I didn't think about it more. We went out, and when we came back, uh, the manager came and he said, I'm sorry, but could you please, can you talk to the police? Okay, I said, of course, I can talk to the police. And I explained, he wanted to know, and he said there have been many things at this hotel that has been taken for almost a year now. And he said, did you see anything strange or anything yesterday? And then I remembered this woman that I've been there to clean. And I remembered her face. And they said, would you like to do a confirmation to go and see? You don't have to point or anything, but you can just say hi to her if it's her. And we are going to take a lot of different people that work in the hotel down, and you are going to say hi to the person that it is, if you can recollect. And I got down to the basement, and there were different housekeepings and cleaning ladies there, and I saw her after a bit, and she came, and I noticed the face right away. And I said, got to the policeman, I said, hi, how are you? I said to her. And she looked so nervous, and I told the police, are you sure? Yes, I said, it's her. And it was her. They found a lot of perfumes and everything. Sadly, she had very hard with her finance. So I felt sorry for her too, but still isn't right. I'm going to stop now and start again with more miracles, but that just explained why I remember faces so well. Okay? Bye for now.